there, listeners, and welcome to Fear and Flame Podcast. I'm Brooklyn.
I'm Mason.
I'm Wyatt.
Welcome.
And today we're covering hearing familiar voices when no one is around. So strike a match, light a candle, and settle in. This one is sure to ignite some fear.
Spooky. When no one's there.
So I'm going to start us out today with a short story written by a friend. With every passing minute, as the sun nears closer to meet the horizon of the trees to our west, regret creeps further to the forefront of my mind. Taking a deep inhale, I survey the clearing where my best friend is trying and failing to finish pitching our tent. The label said 5-minute setup. However, we have proven the Coleman 10 marketing team to be liars, being that we started about 90 minutes ago. It would almost be laughable if we weren't running out of sunlight and we both weren't feeling the rising unease about camping for the first time at a real campground. We did a few trial runs in our backyards and researched these grounds, making sure it was safe. We also made sure that there weren't other campsites too close to ours, but that there is definitely a bathroom nearby. Thankfully, things started to click into place with the tent. Literally. Finally, Ryan exhales. She smiles proudly at her work and slumps down onto the log that I had dragged from the tree line to the fire pit. The dim haze of slightly past sunset is broken up by the flicker of firelight swirling up from the pit in the center of our campsite clearing. Sparks crackle and pop in every direction as I crunch through the newly fallen autumn leaves, over to sit next to her. I hand her a paper plate with chocolate bars and graham crackers. I'll roast us some marshmallows and we'll celebrate the victory with s'mores, I laugh. Double chocolate for me, please, she exclaims. The dusk turns to twilight as we clean the melted marshmallow mess off of our hands with water bottles and paper towels. Ryan hands me another damp paper towel. Quinn, how do you always manage to get marshmallow in your hair? She shakes her head in mock disappointment. Look, there's no reason to get hostile, I say in a monotone and with a straight face while putting my hands up defensively. We both break into laughter as she jokingly hits my arm. So far, just your basic camping story. But I love the having to use water bottles to get marshmallows off your hands because there's literally nothing else.
How does one get marshmallow all throughout their hair? Have you ever had marshmallow in your hair before?
Listen,
Wyatt?
you're not a girl. You don't have hair that
You're
strings.
right. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The
have
times
you?
I did have long hair, I never got any marshmallow in them.
Yeah, have you ever had?
But
I've had marshmallow everywhere. Like whenever
That's
you're
concerning.
bending over and like grabbing it or
That's
trying to put it
concerning.
onto the cracker.
When you're
Squishing it?
bending over to put it on the cracker?
I mean, like, so you're
Focusing
holding.
what are
hard
you
on that.
doing,
Listen,
man?
you're holding the stick that goes into the fire.
Yeah.
Trying to take the s'more off, like holding it between your legs, trying to take it off, like, and when you're eating it,
That
it
is
just
the
gets messy.
most convoluted way I think anybody's ever told me that they make a marshmallow.
I think it's just
Yeah.
realistic.
Okay, that's fine. I've
Remember
never had
in
long
school,
hair.
whenever they'd be like, "Oh, you have to give me the directions exactly to how you make something."
When you're-
Oh, you have to take the bread out of the.
no.
Which class
Never
were
I guess
you
done
in?
maybe that was
Yeah.
for dental. That
That
was
was
for
maybe-
that was
I think
for
you were in a different
college
class.
because
Oh, was it for
they do
college?
that to be able to explain things
wa-
better to people.
Yeah.
Like, can you go through
Yeah.
instructions, like verbalize things?
Yeah.
Yep.
Remember like PIMDAS and stuff
PIMDAS?
in math class, like order of operations, things
That's
like
kind
that.
of like the vibe.
They'd
I
want
feel
you to
like.
explain how you got to your answer and so on and so forth. But no, never. They never had me like write down how I tie my
Make
shoes or
peanut
anything.
butter. Yeah, no, that's.
We did have to
Never
do
had
that.
him.
How to
It
brush
could be
my
a
teeth.
healthcare thing. It could be a healthcare thing.
Probably.
Yeah, that's sure.
We'll move on. A rustling noise from just beyond the line of trees to our north cuts our laughter short. Our heads snap toward it in unison. We unconsciously step towards each other and hold our breaths, straining our eyes and our ears to capture any other trace of movement. I scan the frightening expanse of darkness just out of reach of our firelight. The black viscosity of the shadows meld into the night sky, absent of the moon. It feels like we are on a stage with spotlights focused on us, putting us on display for whatever spectators are watching from the unseen panoramic audience. My chest, tight with anticipation, slowly starts to relax as the seconds tick by in silence. After what seems like long enough, we both breathe out quietly in hesitant relief. We turn to look at each other and force a smile to try to lighten the heavy, brisk air. So, shall we get ready for bed? We can turn on a comedy or something on my laptop to fall asleep to. Ryan is already grabbing what she needs to prepare for bed. She is moving at a slightly faster pace than normal, obviously just as affected as I am by the unsettling noise we just heard. Sounds good to me. I follow her lead. By the time I get into the tent, Ryan has a random Netflix comedy playing as background noise and she's half asleep. I zip up the tent, trying in vain to convince myself that these thin fabric walls will protect us from the surrounding wilderness and whatever lies within it. I know that once we get through this first night, the irrational fears I'm experiencing will fade and I will be able to actually enjoy our camping expedition. Ryan's eyes switch open slightly. Good night, wake me if you need anything. I nodded. Good night, same goes for you. I whisper as I place a water bottle next to her. I climb into my sleeping bag, allowing the warmth and security to comfort me. I watch the movie, playing until my eyes are too dry and my lids are too heavy to fight the inevitable. My eyes close, but I can still hear the dialogue playing on the laptop. The sounds dull and my mind drifts back and forth from illogical flashes of dreams to the dimmed voices.
All right.
So that's our next little break there.
So we're schizophrenic.
The voices.
We hear voices.
Mm-hmm.
Are they surprised that they hear like shuffling in the woods if we're outside
they're
in the?
gonna hear things in the woods. There's
Yeah.
animals and everything, but never going camping and being in a clearing where you know. And
But
they did
there's-
this specifically to be away from other people. Like, we're gonna make sure like we're close enough to a bathroom, but we're also kind of on our own.
Yeah.
It's just unnerving to be out there and not be able to see anything, but hear noises. Just like the sense of like, oh my gosh, I can't actually see what's going on, but I hear things around me. Especially for it to not make any other sound too. To just hear one, like a snap of a twig or something, nothing else. To me, it's just very.
I could see
uneasy,
myself being
like-
unnerved, perhaps, but I don't think that I would be.
Like, all right,
I
let's
wouldn't
go to
think
bed.
anything. Yeah, I wouldn't think anything too much of it though.
No, definitely not.
I mean, I don't know. I'd be unnerved, but I think it's
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to not be a little unnerved. I mean, anytime you're outside and it's dark and you hear something moving around and the leaves rustling or branches breaking or anything, yeah, it'd be very common to be a little unnerved
Yeah.
about it. But I guess
Also,
it just depends on your experience and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fair so
Yeah.
far. I don't think we're in any unreasonable territory yet.
No,
So.
still pretty normal.
Pretty normal. I continue to try to make sense of my surroundings. Trees are on all sides, even towering over me, blocking the sky from view. Memories of the day before play through my mind. Where's our tent? Where's Ryan? I hear something, a whimper, an animal, crying, a person. It sounds familiar and close. I try to get up quickly, but my body protests. My muscles are sore and my joints are stiff. I move a little slower and get to a standing position. It's hard for me to see more than a few feet in front of me, so I carefully move toward the noise. Someone is in trouble. What if it's Ryan? Quinn! It's Ryan. It's coming from the same direction as the crying, but she seems further away now. I open my mouth to shout back, but hardly any noise comes out. My throat feels like sandpaper. I try to call out again, nothing. I start to move more quickly towards Ryan. Sharp twigs pierce the bottom of my bare feet. Branches reach out to claw at my face. Adrenaline dulls the sting. More crying breaks through the trees. Is that Ryan? I know it was her that yelled my name, but is she the one crying? She must be. Quinn! She sounds more like she's looking for me rather than calling for help. I feel relief start to settle in. I see a light filtered through the trees. It's up so high it can't be a flashlight. It must be a building. I burst into the clearing. It's the communal bathrooms. Ryan must have assumed I would be here when she woke up and I was gone. I hurry towards the women's side entryway. There are 2 doors leading into the women's bathroom, one on each side of the south wall of the building. I push through the first one I came to. The bathroom is shaped like a horseshoe, the doors being the beginning and the end points. Upon entry, there are 2 lines of sinks in the middle back to back facing outwards. Beyond the sinks, there are 2 lines of stalls in the middle in the same fashion as the sinks. The walkway from one door past the sink, around the stalls, and back up the other side to the other door creates the horseshoe shape. Have you guys ever been in a bathroom like that?
Have I ever been? I don't think so.
There's
So
a
it's like-
gas
so-
station that I've been into. Is like
And it's like a circle?
basically a semicircle, like a horseshoe, but the mirrors and sinks were in the middle, like back to back with each other, and so straight down the middle were the sinks and everything. And if you just go around, there's stalls on both sides. So that I think it was just to be able to have more bathroom stalls instead of just like one side.
So, but Quinn, so where was she when she woke up? Did she wake up in
Yeah.
the tent or
She's in the woods.
she's out in the middle of the woods?
Yeah.
So she slept walk presumably into the middle of the woods, correct?
We don't know for sure yet.
Okay. What does that even mean?
She possibly sleptwalked. What if something drug her off? We don't know.
I doubt.
I don't see the dragging off.
So, but
Not waking up.
and
being
so that's
drugged.
why what's her name, Ryan,
Yes.
is like looking for her. Is
Yeah.
it okay? Weird.
Yeah.
That's kind
of. I'd see more like some sort of possession or something like that, probably.
Possibly.
Than the dragging
Maybe.
off.
Yeah.
It's weird though that like I don't know. I would be a lot more unnerved than I think our protagonist is right now if I just
think
randomly
she's just not
woke up.
even thinking because as soon as she woke up, she heard someone yelling for her. It said like
Yeah.
her adrenaline was pumping.
If I'm just standing
so she's
in
probably
the
not even thinking about it. She's just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
where's my friend at?
if I'm just standing in the middle of the woods though, and that's the kind of thing I knew I was like
You're
in
all
bed.
scraped up and
Yeah, I'd be a
it'd
little
pretty-
concerned.
Yeah, very confusing. Yeah, I
But-
don't know.
I don't know. I hate to chop it up as like a possession right now though.
Yeah.
I mean, knowing what we're talking about, then maybe. But so far, I feel like my reasonable assumption would just be they slept well. But that I would definitely be a little freaked out
yeah.
that I'm just standing.
like, I wonder what's going on here. Quinn, is that you? Ryan's voice echoes through the long hallway out of the furthest stall from the entry. Yes, are you okay? I whispered. My voice is just loud enough to be heard. Yes, I'm just not feeling the best. I'll be out in a little bit. Are you okay? Yes, I'll tell you everything when you're done. My voice cracked. I move towards the line of sinks. I push up the silver lever on the faucet. Water rushes out and swirls down the drain. I put my scraped hands under the water and let it flow over them, washing off the remnants of the forest floor. I filled my hands with water and splashed it on my face, making the scratches on my face burn. I look up to see the damage done by my latest sleepwalking episode. Ding, ding, ding. So you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and she's a
She's a
known
sleepwalker,
sleepwalker at
yeah.
this point. Which why would you ever decide you want to go camping? If you know,
If you are a bad enough sleepwalker that you can get yourself out of
a tent, out of a zipper, you've opened a
Like,
zipper.
tell your friend, I'm going to need you to put me in a straitjacket
Yeah.
and handcuff my feet together before
I don't know,
I
my
go to
go
sleep.
through the woods, scratch yourself up, still not wake up, you're a pretty heavy sleepwalker.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't
Maybe she has to take medication, or we never know.
I hope so. So she hears voices and she likes to walk around at night. All right.
Yep.
Really, really good mental state we're going into.
Oh, gosh. Twigs are knotted in my hair. Dirt is smeared across my neck. The red slashes on my face match those scattered all over my arms. My t-shirt is discolored and torn. I look down to wash more dirt off of my arms. In my periphery, I think I see movement in the mirror. I look up. There's nothing behind me. I take a breath and shake my head and continue to scrub my arms. Movement. Again. I slowly look up at the mirror. Again, there's nothing there. As I'm looking back down to turn the water off, I notice that the lever on the sink faucet in the mirror is black. I slowly turn the water off while scanning the space in front of me. The heavy, all-consuming feeling of panic radiates through my chest. My throat constricts. My skin starts to prickle with heat. I look up. My reflection. It's gone. There's no mirror separating the sinks. It's just open space. I frantically look around. No one. Ryan. Ryan, where are you? The sounds of crying bounce off the walls. I slam open each stall door in this row and then again on the other side. Ryan is gone. Quinn? Her voice is coming from outside the bathrooms. I race to the door. My reflection stops me short. My heart stops. I reach out to the door. The smooth glass that meets my palm reassures me that I am seeing my true reflection. Before I grab the handle, crying reverberates around me. Behind me. It's right behind me. I see it. Me. It's behind me. It's reaching for me. I spin around and slam my back into the mirror on the door, smashing the glass. It's gone. I can't breathe in air fast enough. I shoot my eyes back and forth, covering the entirety of the space in front of me. There's nothing. I turn back to reach for the door handle, and I see my hand, but I can't feel it. It's gripping a shard of glass. The shard is slicing straight through the M in the middle of the palm, blooming bright ribbons of scarlet that snake down the pale skin of the wrist and drip onto the white floor. My eyes move slowly back up to the shattered mirror. My broken reflection stares back at me. It smiles and it opens its mouth. Cries escape my smiling lips, tears escape my smiling eyes. Ryan, help me. The reflection's smirking mouth mimics my own. We grip the glass shard tighter and lift it. It's my voice, my mouth, my hand. but it's not me. The door swings open in front of me. Quinn? And that's it.
Oh, that was kind of cool.
Interesting.
I like the idea of the protagonist being the monster. I don't know how often that happens, but I thought that's neat.
It's an interesting twist too. Usually in stories of mimicry or involving skinwalkers or shapeshifters or demons or whatever, often people are being taken away from civilization, their home or the tent or something like that,
Like being lured out.
into the woods or so on and so forth. And her going from the woods to a mark of civilization like the bathrooms is kind of an interesting twist. You don't see that a lot in these types of stories. Makes me wonder if it was just for the point of the mirrors.
That's my favorite part.
There's something the character could look into to see themselves or the reflection of themselves.
I really like the idea of the fact that I don't know, like, this could have been going on for a while, I think. Like, because we know that this main character has been a known sleepwalker, and I think obviously that whenever they went out into the woods, that's probably whatever, I don't know if that's whenever something that they had possessed them initially, or if that's been a reoccurring thing. But
well, I mean, I think Ryan could have not even known that Quinn was gone because the mimic could have already been with Ryan for a little bit, you know? And then they switch out and she thinks that Ryan is in the bathroom, but Ryan's not in the bathroom. It's the mimic, and then the mimic is her. It's just a lot of back and forth. So you don't really know.
Like some Moon Knight type stuff where it's just you pop in and out. Yeah. I don't know. I think that that's really cool. I like the idea that, especially there at the end, whenever she stopped saying like me and started going to we.
Yeah.
Like as in it's like me and this entity together.
Yeah.
Are. I think it's a fun story.
Yeah.
I like it's short, sweet,
yeah,
different. And this was made by one of your friends?
Yeah.
Or somebody? Okay.
Yeah. She's never written anything like horror scary, so I gave her a little, here's some homework if you want to try to do this, and I like it. Okay. It was pretty cool.
I think it was good.
So if you guys haven't guessed already, today we are discussing mimics. Initially, when I thought about mimics, I kind of assumed that they were their own entity or like a separate creature. But actually, after reading into it, they're a lot more of an umbrella topic, which you were kind of mentioning. A lot of people believe mimics to be different things like ghosts or spirits. Doppelgangers are talked about. Flesh gates are something new that I wasn't super aware of, but we looked into that a little bit. Demons, and then others are discussed. I'm not going into like skinwalkers very much, but there's skinwalkers, there's fae, so like changelings, and fetch or jinns. That's all like fairy related. I'm not going into that too much, but there's so many things that could be considered like under the mimic category.
Yeah.
A lot of cultures have different folk stories related to things that mimic the voices or sounds of humans and animals, but mimics are mostly known for copying the voices or appearances of those who are familiar to the person hearing or seeing them. So I've also read some stories of them using the sounds of pets, like to lure owners out, like if they sound like it's their dog or their cat or something like that. Some are unsure of the intentions behind it, but it seems to typically be either more of like a trick. So some people think that mimics are like tricksters, like they're trying to be funny. But I feel like in a lot of cases it's more malicious than that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think it's like, haha, that's funny, I tricked you.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's definitely like I'm trying to like candy in a van. Like I'm trying to get you over here.
Got some candy in here.
I don't know. I think that, like you said, especially if we're assuming that they're demons, if you're going with that route, I don't think that a demon would ever have your best interest in mind.
No, never.
So going off of that, I definitely think that, and especially with the story we just read too, where it's like it was hurting their body, I guess.
Yeah.
I think I don't know, I think 9 times out of 10, if you're encountering something that's pretending to be something that's not just
probably malicious,
presenting its true form, you're
I
probably
agree.
not in a good spot. So
They say that usually the person having an encounter is all alone. That's not always true though, but a lot of the time the person is by themselves. But sometimes it's more believable when there are more than one person. So sometimes that happens, but a lot of the time it's someone by themselves. My favorite stories are encounters in the woods, but they can be both inside or outside. So if a mimic is involved, basically nowhere is safe.
Yeah.
So doesn't matter if you're in your house or outside of your house, you're not safe.
Well, and I've read or I've listened to, I guess, so many different stories that I don't even know if you'd call it a mimic per se, but definitely like to where somebody is pretending to be something else or trying to convince someone that they're something different. Like I know Psychosis or whatever, a story where basically the whole premise is aliens pretending, or aliens or whatever you want to call them, pretending to be human beings in the main character's life, and then trying to draw them
I feel
out.
like it's probably one of the scariest things.
Oh yeah,
Mentally, something is replacing a human, but it is not a human. Just the uncanny, like eerie, makes me so uncomfy.
Oh, and I love whenever it's like not quite right. Whenever
I
like
can't.
voices are a little off.
Yeah, that's
or
like the whole uncanny valley
Yes.
thing. Like it looks human, but just naturally something's off.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Whether
love
it be the way that it moves or something slightly.
Yes,
yeah,
just not
Mannerisms
human.
or its
I love
speech
it.
or the eyes.
That's why I wanted to start with this topic, because I think this is one of the things that bothers me the most.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine, like, especially if it's somebody you know. If it's somebody that you're very well in tune with of how they act and how that they just interact with different things, and seeing somebody just completely be off their,
Yeah,
game,
that's not how
like
they
just
usually are.
just entire. They're maybe not even entirely different, but just some things are just not quite right. I
Slightly,
love
yeah.
it.
So I'm just going to lightly touch on some of the different entities that could be considered mimics. Each one potentially could be its own topic in the future if we wanted to dive deep into just these entities alone. But the first one is just a spirit or a ghost that can mock voices or appearances. Some believe it's to get our attention and spark fear. They can use the energy to become stronger. A lot of the time, it will be the person hearing their name called by a family or friend who is not there, or someone that's passed away sometimes, which some people don't agree with the people who
Oh, they're
passed
demons.
away, but
They're demons. No, I'm just gonna lay it out there. I think they're demons. There's, once
we
you
will
die,
go into what we think mimics
I
are
could
in a
be
little
wrong,
bit,
and people may disagree with me. That ain't Grandma Irene. Okay, I don't care who you
Oh,
are.
Granny.
You know what I mean? I don't know, but that's just what I think.
Yeah. So that's the first one, is spirits. We will get into demonic entities in just a minute. But the next one is doppelgangers. So these originate from German folk stories. Doppelgangers are usually seen as a double or apparition of a living person. It is believed that seeing your own doppelganger is a very bad omen, so like in the paranormal sense, resulting in death. Something that I really liked and found interesting. I don't know if you guys have heard about this or not. It kind of rang a bell when I was looking into it, but I couldn't remember where I placed it at. Abraham Lincoln is said to have seen his doppelganger in a mirror following his election. He told his wife that he had seen two faces, his own and then a very pale and sickly version of himself. Abraham Lincoln may be a fun topic in the future, but he seemed to have a very open mind, like about the paranormal. So after that, this was his initial election, I think, is when he saw it. And then for his re-election, he was assassinated.
There was that documentary about him being a vampire slayer too.
Is
That's
there really?
Mm-hmm.
I have not heard about that.
I haven't heard about either of these. This dude was awesome.
Abraham Lincoln, the vampire slayer.
No,
The
I'd never
movie?
heard that.
Y'all have never seen
Is
that?
that
No.
old? Is it older?
No, it's like 20 teens, I think.
Really? I haven't seen it.
No, I
I
And
guess,
then-
I mean, it talked about a lot of stuff. Like that
he's
he
just a
was-
weird guy, or
Yeah, he
into
liked.
the kind of.
Well, I read something about them doing seances in the White House. No, that could be wrong. Don't maybe fact check me on that. It might not have been
That'd
in the
be
White
awesome.
House. It might have been in their own family.
Would not be the
home.
worst thing to ever happen.
But
at the
I
White
think
House.
they. No, that's true. But
I'm
I think
sure.
they lost a child.
Yeah.
Like one of their children.
Yeah, I think
passed
they had
away
a
young, and they
child
were trying
become
to reach
sick.
out to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe a boy.
So lots of stuff about Abe Lincoln,
awesome.
which I think it'd be fun to do just an episode on him because
That's so
he's
freaky. I
he
love
was
that.
into a lot of stuff. Another term is a flesh gate. I was not familiar with this until after I looked into it. It's a
I've never
new
even
term.
heard the term. Yeah,
It's new. From what I can see, it's new at least. My understanding is that they are different than a skinwalker or a Wendigoon, being that they are not human in any way, as well as being separate from native beliefs. Flesh gates are seen in more of a woodsy or forest environment and are also able to mimic people or animals. They can infiltrate a group and cause the members to be confused or forgetful of how many people were there to start with. Slowly, it'll pick off individuals or lure them into the woods. So there was a story. It's a Reddit story. I don't know if you guys have read it, or you might have heard it. But basically, this group of people, they had like a 5. I don't remember the number, but let's just say there were 5 people in this group.
I think I know what you're talking
Yes. Well, then there was like 6, and nobody
Yeah.
noticed. Like, oh, where did I thought we only had 5 of
Yeah.
us, but it's because they like infiltrated the group, like confused everyone. People didn't remember. I read something about people who were like, oh, like we all rode in this car together, but there's only 5 seats in the car. Now there's 6 of us. Why can we not fit in the car that we came in? And
Yeah.
no one, it's just a weird.
That is awesome.
So-
Yeah, just going around a room and then just always coming up with,
Like, that's so odd. But I don't know if this is something that's been termed and can't, like, come up with on the internet, or if it's an actual thing, like an actual entity with backing. But it is cool that it's different than, like, native beliefs. It's supposed to be its own thing that was never human. Because, skinwalkers were human at
supposed
one
to have
point.
been,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I like the idea to where something can infiltrate a group so well and
No one
blend in
notices.
that it's not even like you can sit there and be like, okay, here's this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. We only had like 4 people here. What's going on?
Yeah, why is
It's
there an
crazy.
extra?
Yeah.
For some reason, you remember everyone, or everyone seems familiar.
Yes.
It's
But
crazy.
you just can't. Yeah.
So here's your topic, Mason.
Heck
Lastly
yeah.
is demonic presences. Sometimes they can be referred to as familiars, probably the most malicious of all of the entities. They can initially use the mimicking to build trust or convince the person that it is one of their loved ones. But their end goal is typically to scare for manipulation purposes. The further they can drive fear, the more control they have. And what isn't scarier than hearing the voice of someone you know, without a doubt, is not in the same location as you? Satan himself is described to manifest as an angel of light. In Eden, he was the serpent. In the desert, he was the tempter, whether or not that was a physical change. But I just think it's interesting that if Satan was mimicking or mocking or being other things, like, why would demons not do the same thing?
I love so much the horror around like demons and stuff like that because it's so
Because
fun.
it's terrifying.
Because it's like they only want bad for you.
And especially if you have beliefs, if you have religious beliefs around that, or you grew up having that implemented in your foundation, like,
terrifying.
there's nothing scarier.
It's awesome, and because it's like they are so overwhelmingly more powerful, I
Yeah.
think, in a sense, than you are as just a regular human.
And I mean, they've been around.
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
They've been around for a long time.
The thought of a being that only wants harm done to me and knows a lot more than I do and is just immensely more powerful is so terrifying. I touch on the whole like covering in light or whatever. I remember in the game Faith, which I can't remember. I think maybe the creator of the game did confirm that at some point that the main character, the priest or whatever, was like, hey, just like called out for help from anyone and anything. And then in front of him was a, figure of light, right? And was like, I can save you, but you have to swear to me that you'll, do this for me.
Yeah.
Right? Swear it. Which is not at all, I don't know, is not godly at all.
No.
I don't think.
No.
Yeah, I don't think God's ever going to be like, I need you to
swear.
swear that you're going to do this. A little kind of, and I think that the creator did confirm that not only was that a demon trying to disguise himself as God, but that was Satan himself, I think.
Probably.
Pretending to
'Cause
be,
he was the angel of light.
yeah, pretending to be an God or an angel at least.
Yeah, God gives everything as a gift, like mercifully.
Yeah, I don't think
He's
God
not
ever
like,
is
you gotta do this,
reeling
this,
and dealing.
this.
Just asking of your faith.
Yeah, I think
Not
that there's
exactly
Put your hand on this
Yeah.
book. So, regardless of what subcategory the mimic may fall into, each uses deception as a tactic to scare and gain an advantage over the victim. Based on everything I've seen, the best response to have towards a mimic is no response at all. You're supposed to pretend like you never heard it all, you just ignore it and act like it never happened. It seems to de-escalate the situation typically, eventually causing the encounters to stop. So, If they don't, then you might need to look into some professional options for help because it's more than likely demonic presence.
Yeah.
Imagine which I mean that's easy to say whenever it's
To
like
ignore
a sound in the
something.
woods, but when it's like your wife comes home and she's not your wife anymore, that'd be a little hard, I think, to get over. But
We're going to do some personal encounters that I found like on Reddit and everything.
okay,
But a lot of them are like, oh, like, I hear my husband's home. Hey, honey, like, how are you? Like, hear them putting their stuff down and walking around and stuff. You go into your living room or wherever they're supposed to come in. Nobody's there.
Yeah.
Their vehicle isn't parked outside. It's just like
just like
goosebumps.
no, and I have heard a story locally too. The furniture store or whatever Roots I think is to where supposedly one of the employees watched one of their fellow coworkers walk in, and they said hi to him or whatever, and they just completely ignored, blank faced, whatever, and like walked up, to the second story, and they were like, well, that's kind of weird, whatever. And then like I think 5-10 minutes later, that same coworker walks into the front door again. And, the guy's like, hey, man, what's up? And then the other dude's like, oh, hey, were you not just here? Like, literally a few seconds ago? He's like, I'm just coming in for my shift right now.
So this first one comes from a user by the name of Kelsery. It says, me, 36 female, and my daughter, Olivia, 16 female, live in a small town in South Dakota. She goes with her father every weekend, and she usually leaves every Friday afternoon and comes back Sunday evenings. So usually she'll be gone by the time I get home from work on Friday evenings. This particular Friday, when I pulled up to our driveway, I looked up at her window and noticed her bedroom light was still on. I figured she accidentally left it on before leaving. I don't know. I walk into the house and hear movement coming from upstairs. Oh, she's still home, I whispered to myself. I went upstairs and knocked on her bedroom door and slowly opening it. Your dad isn't picking you up this weekend, I asked. No, I told him I want to stay, she said while looking down at her journal. Great, I'll make dinner for us and we can watch a movie if you'd like. There was a long pause before she said, yes. I closed her door and I thought she was acting a bit standoffish. She usually has a lot to say. I texted her dad asking if they maybe got into some sort of disagreement or an argument that led her to not wanting to go with him this weekend. I went downstairs and started making dinner for us. As the food was cooking, I started organizing things around the house, and I noticed Olivia's book bag and coat aren't hung up where we usually hang our things when we get home. I thought maybe she just took her things up to her room. No biggie. I went into the living room and saw Olivia sitting on the couch facing away from me. I didn't even hear her coming down the stairs. She kind of startled me, especially because she was just sitting there. Not on her phone like usual, and the TV was off. I walk over to the kitchen and check on the food. I yell out if she can please pick out a movie for us. I went to check what movie she picked, and to my surprise, the TV is still off and she's still sitting there motionless.
It's more fun whenever they are just so off and like alien versus...
I just don't understand, like, you're physically, the presence is there, but nothing is said. Like, no word, no emotion, just sitting there.
It's interesting, yeah.
I like it.
And I mean, it doesn't always have to be supernatural. That's the thing. Sometimes people are just off.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And you never know what someone's going through or anything on a certain day, but sometimes people are just off. And it may be that they just had a weird day or an off day, or maybe they're using a substance they shouldn't be or something.
Yeah.
And it's still, the thing is, it's still just as creepy or just as scary either way.
When
if
somebody's
you don't
just...
understand, why someone's acting completely out of their norm.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, even if it's not paranormal, we're just like, why? They're usually so upbeat and happy and go lucky, and today they're nothing.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes a mimic that has replaced somebody that's just not completely right even more scary, is that the deniability of, well, maybe they're just having a rough
Off
day,
Yeah.
or maybe something's going on. I think is scary enough that, that we can justify, they're probably just...
Yeah,
they're probably fine.
No one wants to go straight to a loved one or significant other or something. They don't want to go straight to, this is a malice.
This thing's been replaced, and
this
they
is
want
an
to kill
entity
me.
with malice.
Yeah.
One of us is not who we think they
Yeah.
are. Yeah, that's probably not the typical normal person's train of thought with that.
Yeah.
I think it would be mine, but I think that most people, I don't think, would think that immediately. But that's just me.
Olivia, you didn't hear me, I said. I grabbed the remote and picked out a movie. I chose The Conjuring. I love Vera Farmiga. I think that's how you say it.
No idea.
I grabbed our plates as I sat down on the couch. I heard a notification coming from my phone in the kitchen. I told her I'll be right back. I checked my phone and it was a text from her father. After reading his message, my body went cold and stiff. Literal chills. He said, "What do you mean? I picked Olivia up from school and we're grabbing dinner with her grandma right now."
Yeah.
Aruba,
It starts to become less
Jamaica.
your friend
Hey, I wanna
is
take
acting
ya.
a little off to more.
I feel catatonic at this point. I took a deep breath and walked slowly towards the living room, peeking in to see if it was still sitting on the couch. It was. It was just sitting there, very still, looking forward but away from me. I haven't even seen Olivia's face since I've been home. Like the thing has purposely been avoiding eye contact. I went back into the kitchen. I didn't know what to do. I'm terrified. I had to go back out there. My car keys are in the living room. I took a deep breath and got the courage to walk out confidently like everything was normal. It was gone. I don't know why I yelled out, "Olivia?" My stupid, confused human instincts. I heard its voice coming from upstairs, sounding just like my Olivia. It said, "Mom, I'm upstairs. I need your help," in the most sinister voice. Heck no. I grabbed my keys and ran the heck out of that house. I was shaking so much I couldn't even put the keys in the ignition. Gosh, I wish I had a push start for this very moment. As I reversed out of my driveway, I looked up at the house, and it was at Olivia's window, waving at me, faceless. I couldn't even breathe. I've never drove off so fast in my life.
Do you just burn the whole house down?
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be hard
I
to want
think
to
you
go
just
back.
never
wouldn't it?
go back home.
Yeah.
Or-
To not notice that you never saw your kid's face too, though, like it's just a normal thing until you start thinking about
Oh,
it.
yeah,
And
especially if
you're
you have a, like just a like little angsty teenager, and it's like, oh, whatever, mom, I
Yeah.
don't care.
Mm-hmm.
To use that and be like, hey, by the way, this creature is not acting at all like
Yeah.
a human being.
Naturally in any way.
Almost like it's trying its best to mimic a human, but it can't. It's just unable to, or at least completely. So it tries to work around that.
yeah, just
Um,
hiding its face or
yes.
not talking very much.
God, I love that's such a cool visual of
Yeah.
just like looking up into your daughter's window and it's your daughter without a face.
Yeah.
God,
Anytime
that'd be awesome.
kids are involved, it definitely steps it up. It
Yeah.
seems like.
Kids are so creepy.
They
Yeah.
are.
They're so
No,
creepy.
it's
Just to get that text message and just not even know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
"Ah,
That
are you,
like
are
you're
you joking with me?
the
Like,
scariest part to me is like questioning your own sanity at
Yes.
that moment, because how do you react properly to something like that? I mean, if it's actually happening and it's like there's really something pretending to be your child and it's in your home, what do you do other than run?
Yeah.
Obviously no one's going to believe you. If something were to happen where this thing attacks you and you fight back and you kill it, and it was like really actually like some sort of manic episode or something you had, and you just killed your own kid,
then you get to go to
and now
jail.
you're living with that. You know,
I
it's,
mean, you're just in trouble
Yeah.
no matter
It's
what.
it's
like
a hard
it's
sitch
a
to
weird
be in.
situation to be in, because
It,
there's- I mean, you'd really start to kind of question your own ability to kind of judge what's going on around you, for sure.
You can't even tell you can't tell the police because they're gonna be
Yeah.
like, "What the hell are you talking
I mean,
about?"
and if they do come and look in your house, it's not going to be there.
No.
No, it's going to be gone.
No,
100%.
and then it'll just be back later. Yeah.
Yeah. Our next story is from Mr. Saturn 1249. This happened last summer in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Minneapolis. I really can't do
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
it. Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I don't actually know where Minneapolis.
I went out from. It is in Minnesota.
Okay,
You're right.
I thought it was but
Minneapolis,
just making
Minnesota.
sure.
I got it that time. I went out for a walk around 8 or 9. I was walking on a street with a big park on one side and a couple of baseball diamonds surrounded by forest on the other. I wasn't particularly paranoid. I guess my words are just not working. I wasn't particularly paranoid or on high alert or anything. I stopped under a streetlight to light a cigarette, and for some reason, the forest across the street caught my attention. I didn't really know how to explain it. Anyway, I kept walking until the forest part I was watching was right across the street from me and stopped. I was just looking at it, and all of a sudden, I heard my girlfriend's voice come from the forest saying, "Hi," really happy like. I knew my girlfriend was still at home, so I just did what I thought would be best and ignored it and kept walking. I was kind of creeped out. After I got a block or so away, I turned around and saw a really tall, dark silhouette stand up from behind a minivan parked down the street. I was scared and ran all the way home.
Awesome.
I think those are not the weirdest, but the encounters where you hear one little thing, and you're like, did I actually hear that? Was that real?
Mm-hmm.
Like, nah, I made that up in my head. I'm just like freaking myself out. Because you can't trust if it's just you by yourself. I don't think I could trust myself enough if it was just one little thing like that.
Yeah, if I just heard like somebody I thought that I heard out in the distance, like if I were to hear Wyatt just say something when I know he's not there, I'm probably just going to ignore it as well, to be honest.
Like that's just in my head.
It's going to be a no for me. And I like the idea that it wasn't even trying to take on any physical
resemblance of anyone.
It's a giant, like, black silhouette creature, which is awesome.
It's like, I don't even got to use my appearance. I'm just going to use your voice.
Yeah.
Just the voice.
And I'd be terrified to ever go outside again. I think.
If I saw something creep from behind a minivan.
Yeah, that big.
No,
that it's because you
never.
gotta. So it stood up, right? Assumedly from behind the minivan.
Yeah.
And it's tall enough to where you could visibly see it
above the minivan.
Stayed up behind the minivan.
Yeah.
No, but I think, what is that condition where people literally don't leave their house at all?
Me after that happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever condition it is.
Yeah, and I
What
think
is
you're
it?
completely reasonable for that.
I guess I
insane.
don't know what the name of the condition would be.
There's a movie about it and stuff, like where people who
I mean, I think they're called neats now, aren't they?
There's something, yeah. That you can...
hermits as well.
Hermit,
But yeah,
It's okay,
no education.
But like
no...
it's like an actual disease. Like I cannot step outside of my door or I will die. On to the next. Competitive Bad 5295. This user says, I don't know. Last year my husband's friend passed away. His son, a retired dentist out of Dallas, inherited the house. We liked the house, so we bought it, as is. We are utilizing his huge bed frame, office furniture, sectional, etc. The other night, I was getting out of the shower, and my husband opens the door and asks, "Have you been in here the whole time?" I was like, yeah, why? He said he went into the kitchen and heard me ask him, "What are you doing?" He said, "Getting a drink." He turned around, and I wasn't there. He said he saw someone walk through the kitchen the other night. He knew it wasn't me because I'm 5'9", like 5'9 and a half, and this person would have came up to my chin if we were to stand toe to toe. Just a few days ago, we got into a bit of a heated argument. He opened the door and I turned around to finish eating my bacon at the kitchen counter. I heard the door shut and I heard the B word. It sounded like my husband. He's never called me anything like that in the 25 years we've been married. He came back in and I asked him, "What did you call me?" He had a look of legit confusion. I told him if he ever hears anything like that again, to not answer it. Turn around first and make sure it's a real physical person is there. So they're just hearing.
So they're just having shared disillusion.
might be time to check the batteries and the
Imagine
gas detectors.
Yeah.
What if actually her husband really did call her the B word, though?
And he was just like, "What are you talking
He
about?"
played it off well.
It must be the demon
I
again.
understand the
Sorry,
feeling.
honey. Yeah, I don't know.
It must
That
be
was
the demon
weird.
in our house again.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a great cop out. If you could convince your wife that there's like another version of you, like a demon version of you walking around saying stuff, you could do whatever. You can get away with anything.
Yeah, ranked gaslighting.
Yeah,
right
I
there.
mean that's some real stuff right there, dude. You buy whatever. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Oh my goodness. You know how many arguments you could get out of with
Cop
that?
out
Easy.
on everything. Cop out on
But no,
everything.
definitely time to check the CO2.
Yeah,
you know.
check all
Funny
your
enough,
batteries.
though, every time I've read it, like the Reddit threads, it says before you think anything is going on, make sure that you don't have a leak in your
Yeah.
Oh,
house.
yeah.
Like,
Oh
it
yeah,
is a
it's
huge
no
thing.
people definitely start having auditory hallucinations, visual hallucinations. Yeah, carbon monoxide poisoning ain't good for you.
No.
No.
Make you hear and see all kinds of things.
Yeah.
It's just so funny because some people will preface with their story, I've already looked into this, and this, and a
Yeah.
lot of the times it's like, we don't have carbon monoxide in our house. Like,
Yeah.
there's not an issue. So it's just crazy how people like play into that.
If I start hearing voices in the house, I'm gonna do whatever I can to convince myself that it is completely normal and everything
Yeah,
is
it's
okay.
just something else.
And
Go through the
yeah,
checklist.
of like everything. No, I don't even think I'd do that. I think I'd be like, oh, that's weird. Carbon something.
Yeah,
I
shit.
think we'll move now.
Well, you guys
Yeah.
had a carbon monoxide leak whenever
so.
at your old house.
Did we have
You
a-
probably were really young, but I remember
I think
that.
so.
I
Yeah,
think so.
I think they did.
I don't remember being affected by it very
No,
much,
but I think you
it
guys
was like
actually like went to sleep with it, and it was a miracle. Like they were like, it was a miracle that you're.
Huh. I didn't know that. Nobody's ever dropped
Sorry
that
to
low.
trauma.
I don't
So
remember
thanks
if it
for-
was described to me as a miracle, but I do think that there was a gas leak
Yeah.
when y'all were fairly young.
Yeah, and we
In
were,
your old house
and
in
great,
town.
and we were lucky to make it out. So I'm glad I get
Makes
to
me
ask
more
my
so
parents
glad
about
you're
something
here.
tonight.
Yeah, if you slept through that whole night, you might have lost a point or two on
ask-
the ACT.
Yeah, there may be.
you know?
I'm seriously. I could have been Einstein
genius.
up in here, man, and then here I am.
Yeah.
Explains a lot, guys. Thanks.
Oh, I have one more Reddit story,
Mm-hmm.
and then no, I lied. I have two more Reddit stories, and then a personal story. But we might let you do your personal story first, and then I'll finish with that one.
Mm-hmm.
This next user is Hawaiian Gremlin. We stayed in this extremely old, creepy cabin in Montana. It was just in the middle of nowhere, and it was so old that it didn't even have a bathroom, just an outhouse. There was a rope that went from the cabin to the outhouse so you could navigate back and forth at night, because it was pitch black. The cabin was super unsettling and had some strange details about it. The strangest being that there was this really tall bed in the upstairs loft where you had to climb stairs to get onto the bed. And under the bed was the child-sized door that locked from the outside. Just bizarre. So one night, my mom's dead asleep. When she wakes up out of the blue feeling really afraid, she opens her eyes to see my stepdad just staring at her with freakishly wide eyes, a scary grin, and she said he looked horrifying. He said, "How are you feeling?" This makes sense because the first day we got there, she got really sick and stayed that way the entire trip. It sucked because there were no hospitals or any medical facilities nearby. As soon as he muttered this, she heard footsteps approaching. When she looked to see who was coming up the stairs, it was none other than my stepdad. He had gone to use the outhouse and was confused when she told him what had happened. She turned back to see who was in bed with her, but nobody was there. It scared the crap out of her, and we left the next morning. She also felt better within hours of getting on the road.
Awesome. She did. You could have the flu though. I think. and-
Yeah, maybe if you're really
up with
sick and
that.
if you have a
Yeah.
fever
You got
or
some-
something.
Yeah, fever dreaming.
One last Reddit
Oh
story.
boy.
This is Avakin Stargazer is the username. So today I asked my son and daughter to take the garbage out. I was in the kitchen cleaning the dishes without a second thought to the chore I just gave them. Soon after my son and daughter left out the house, my son comes running back in asking if I had called him back. I laughed, and so no, I just told you to take the garbage out, but he swore that he heard me call for him. I didn't think anything of it, then I got curious before I went to bed and looked back at my Ring doorbell to see if he in fact had heard me call for him, which I assure you I did not. And sure enough, you can hear what sounds exactly like my voice calling his name, but to me the voice sounded so far off in the distance and that the tone was more of a melodic, so melody type of tone. It was eerie hearing this, and I know I did not call for him. There are people walking along the street, and I said, well, maybe it was them who called your name. And he said, I don't know those people. I'm still sitting here perplexed as to how my voice was mimicked that well. It has me thinking that maybe I did call his name. But again, I know I didn't.
You know what I love about stories like that too, is you could chalk it up to, like you said, it could be supernatural, but sometimes I don't think it always has to be. Do you know how easy it'd be? I think just to, especially if you were a real dedicated individual, to get a audio recording of somebody else or whatever, and you wanted to go ahead and kidnap their kids or something, and just playing it on a speaker off near like a van across the street or whatever, and they're gonna come over there and you get a new kid.
It's even scarier. That's even scarier
definitely
than it
with
not being
AI
paranormal.
now.
Yeah,
You don't need a whole lot of somebody's voice to. I mean,
That
with
is
AI,
so
I mean,
Isn't-
scary.
I
like
love that.
someone calling you and you just saying hello or
Yeah.
anything, and they can use your voice to make all kinds of make you say whatever, send it to family members.
oh yeah,
AI, like it's gonna be kind of
I
scary.
think it honestly mimics and stuff like that we're not like, it's not like some weird fantasy, like demon ghost thing that happened, you know. Like, it could be real. It could be very real. We can
Yeah.
mimic people's faces, mimic
Yeah.
their, you know, voices and stuff like that
without
very
it
easily
being
now.
paranormal
Yeah.
at all.
Yes. A normal, you
Just
could
as
just,
scary.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're at the point.
the school could get a call from who they think is you. Hey, I'm not gonna be able to pick the kids up this evening. Their Uncle Ron's gonna pick
Yeah.
them up, and I mean, it could be just as easily as that.
I should have added AI to one of our entities. That could be
Didn't
in.
think about that. It'd be an interesting topic.
Awesome.
So, Wyatt, I know you have a short story that actually happened to you, so I was going to let you go ahead and share yours of the time that you feel like you heard something in the woods.
Kind of said it. I don't know where I stand on like the paranormal and stuff like that. I don't have any concrete views either way. I think there's definitely things that we have not been able to explain yet in the world. It's such a big place and so much goes on. It's hard to expect us to know everything. And you know, sometimes weird things just happen, things that are unexplainable. But my experience would have been in 2018 or 2019. I can't remember exactly. I'd have been 16, 17, somewhere in there, maybe 15, bow hunting behind my grandparents' house, which my parents and grandparents live within 120, 130 yards of each other. From the houses to the wood line, it's probably 60 to 100 yards. And I would have been about 300 yards from my grandparents, 350, 400 yards from my parents, in the stand I was in, but I was hunting by myself, in a tree stand elevated off the ground on our creek, that bisects the property about halfway through. And I had been there for, I think it might have been a school day, so I would have gotten the stand a little later. I'd probably been in the stand about an hour, and there was probably another 45 minutes to an hour left of shooting light whenever I started to hear the sound. And when you're down there on that creek, voices and stuff, because the houses kind of sit at the top of the hill, it's a gradual slope down to the creek. When dogs are barking or maybe a UPS guy or something pulls into the driveway at the houses, a lot of the time you can kind of hear it coming back up through the creek. The sounds echoing up through there. So it's not unusual to hear people slamming car doors or anything like that when you're down there in the woods. So when I first heard the voice, it sounded like my mother calling for my younger sister at the time. And at first it was like one time she said her name, and to me it just sounded like it was echoing down through the creek and coming up to where I was sitting. And didn't really seem unnatural or anything to me. It was a little weird, of course. My younger sister would have been like 14, so mom calling for her outside is kind of odd. She would have had a cell phone and everything at the time, so if mom was looking for her, it'd just be weird for someone to be calling for their 14-year-old kid out in the yard. There's not a whole lot of places to hide or anything. So the first couple times it was a little weird, just hearing someone like call for their kid out in the yard. This whole experience was just a few minutes, and then the calling started to get more repetitive. It started to just be like every couple seconds I'd hear the call again, and like my mother saying my younger sister's name over and over again. It's hard to describe the way the voice changed, but there was like a gradual change from my mother's voice to almost just kind of like a female human voice. slowly turning into just a sound. Like it went from clear, sounded like my mother yelling my little sister's name, to kind of getting farther away, like maybe she had moved to the front porch or so on and so forth. She wasn't facing the same direction. Maybe the wind picked up and was messing with the way the sound traveled, but it slowly became more of like a female voice, and the word was becoming more muddled, and then slowly it became just a sound, like just a hard to describe almost how it had changed from a crystal clear name to just something making a noise. As it had went on, I slowly became more and more creeped out because, of course, why would you just keep? It'd been a couple minutes, of course, of this name calling. That would have been unusual if mom hadn't found Maddie in the first couple minutes of calling. You know, there'd be a phone call, or she'd be looking elsewhere. She wouldn't just keep yelling the name, you know. But by the time it had started to change into just the sound, sirens were going off in my head. Like, you know, that you get that feeling in your gut, something's not right. And all the hair on my body was standing straight up. And it was just like, kind of like all of a sudden I started to get that feeling like maybe I shouldn't be here. 30, 40 minutes before shooting light, the sound stops. Like, just, it goes completely quiet. And whenever the name was being called, everything else in the woods had gone quiet. Usually you're always hearing something, squirrels barking or chittering or birds or something. But once you started calling to the end of it, it was complete silence from anything else in the woods. And then when the noises stopped, it was complete silence, like completely quiet. Anyone that's been in the woods very much, has hunted, or just enjoys the outdoors, there's times that you'll be out and everything will go quiet like that. Sometimes it's a predator in the area. Sometimes it's a loud noise, or the animals around see you or hear you and they go quiet. But it's pretty surreal, kind of a very creepy experience. But once the calling quit and it went completely quiet, I was freaked out enough that I just climbed out of the stand and pretty much jogged my way home, looking over my shoulder the whole time, just kind of waiting for something. But you never really know what it was, but I'd like to think it was something natural, and just, you know, you're just hearing it and your mind is twisting it into what it wants it to be.
It was 100% a force demon.
And
I mean,
so you booked it, and as soon as you got home, didn't you ask mom? You're like, hey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I got home, the first thing I did was, because it had creeped me out so much, I asked mom. I was like, hey, what were you calling for Maddie for? And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I was down in the tree stand by the creek, and I could have swore I heard you calling for Maddie. And she was like, no, your sister's been gone all day. She hasn't been home. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of peculiar, because I could have sworn I heard you calling. She was like, no, me and your dad have been inside the whole time since you left.
Because usually whenever people are hunting, we all are told, like, okay,
shut up.
So-and-so's, so-and-so's
pretty
in the
much.
woods, like, be quiet, make sure you're not opening and closing the door, like, don't let any of the animals out.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, everyone is aware.
It'd be very odd
Especially
have somebody
mom outside yelling, knowing why it's hunting, like, that's going to scare all the deer off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Unless you, yeah, it was a good point. I honestly didn't even realize that the story was Maddie was 14. Yeah, it would make sense in this situation specifically. Why would she not just call Maddie on the phone?
and if
especially
she
when you're
calls for
hunting?
Maddie 1 or 2 times, she's like, okay, I don't know where she's at. I'm going to go ask one of the other kids or just see what else is going on. But that story gives me
Oh, dude, I was freaked
goosebumps
out
every time, because just knowing how the creek is and the woods are, like, you feel eerie down there kind of anyways when you're by yourself and you hear something like that and everything is just silent. You're like, I got to get out of here as quick as and that, it's not a long distance, but it feels like forever getting out of the woods.
Yep.
Yeah, I was freaked out. Listen to that again. I've heard that for like 5 times, and that's
my favorite story. I think,
and it's interesting. Those woods around the state, different areas, public land and stuff, and the creepiest woods I've probably ever been in were those woods. And that's not anything peculiar about it. It's just like a feeling that you get.
And it's our
And
own.
for
It's
whatever
our
reason,
like we've lived there our whole lives. It's just crazy for like a place that you are used to and around to be the most unsettling compared to all these other.
of just some random plot of land.
Yeah. Well, the last story I have is actually the one that was inspired by the story that she wrote. So my friend had an experience, And that's what she used it as inspiration to build the story. But she was out with her husband. They are actually building their house right now. So the land that they had a little concrete slab done and stuff, and they decided that they were going to just put out, like, pitch a tent out there and have a little night out where their house is supposed to be. For context, this is kind of in a wooded area. There's no houses like close to or behind their property. The way that they've built it is theirs is further back away from the road than all of, like, the family like next to them. So they're pretty far out back, and then there's not houses because they still have acreage behind it. Mm-hmm. So they had set up their tent, and they had an air mattress. Well, after their tent had already been set up, they didn't realize that their air mattress wouldn't actually fit inside of the tent. So they decided, okay, I guess we're just going to sleep underneath the stars tonight. So they put their air mattress up, and I think they had settled in, and they were planning to watch something on their laptop. So kind of like the story, like they were going to watch Netflix or something, YouTube, something like that on their laptop before they went to sleep. Mm-hmm. When all of a sudden, a woman's voice came from the tree line saying, "Hello." No one should have been in the area, and this was super late at night. This was probably 1 or 2, like, people aren't going to just be walking out in the woods, like, at 1 or 2 in the morning. And so she turned to her husband, and she was like, "Did you hear that? Like, did you hear a woman's voice in the woods?" And he said no. He didn't hear a thing. He didn't know what she was talking about. He just kept changing the subject every time she would try to, like, address it. He was like, "You're just hearing things. Like, it's no biggie." Well, they stayed outside of the tent the entire night, which I could not have. But I think he had convinced her so much that it was just in her head that she was like,
It's
I'm
whatever.
just being crazy. Like,
Yeah.
we're just going to sleep outside.
Which, to be fair, if I thought I heard something, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, did you hear that too?" Or am I just, like, going insane? You're like, "Man, you're crazy. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, that's weird, but all right.
Yeah.
If nobody else has heard this, then okay, whatever.
Like, calm me down a little bit. So she had an uneasy feeling the whole time, but just tried to push it away. So when they got back to their apartment, her husband was like, "Man, that was so creepy." And she was like, "You heard the voice too?" He responded, he was like, "Well, yeah, but you can't say anything in the moment." He convinced her that he didn't hear anything, so she stayed outside of their tent that whole night with some random creepy voice in the woods. That is crazy to me.
The wood demon that you get to have whenever you move into the house.
That's literally where their house is going to be.
Yeah. I think that's grounds, possibly for divorce. I think if I were to be like, "Hey, I think I literally just heard a woman's voice out in the woods. Did you hear that?" If they were to say, "No, I didn't hear anything," and then let me sleep out there all night, and then we go back home the next day, and they're like, "Man, yeah, that demon lady sure was that was really weird, wasn't it?"
Yeah.
Dude.
I think he was doing it because he's like, if we address it, it's real, and he didn't want to scare her.
I can understand that.
But to sleep there?
But I think I would be like, but you know what?
But let's go ahead and pack up our stuff.
I would be like, after about 10 minutes, if that was my goal, but man, I really hate this. Like, I'm kind of getting bit. Like, let's just go ahead and go home.
Let's just go ahead. We'll leave the tent here. We can leave the air mattress here. We're just gonna grab our stuff and
I'm tired.
We'll be back when the daylight comes.
Yeah. And then once you're in the car and you're on the way home, like, you could be like, "I totally heard that." That was weird. We should probably move.
That was pretty odd.
Actually, we're gonna move and not build our house.
Yeah, I don't like it anymore. Dude, I mean, because I've even been in a situation. I think, remember that one time we went fishing or whatever, and at the end you were kind of like, "Dude, I just wanted to, like, I felt bad and I wanted to leave." Mm-hmm. That is plenty of reason for me to want to leave somewhere.
Yeah.
If I don't even have to feel anything. If I'm with somebody
getting an uneasy,
and they're like, "Man, I don't think we need to be here anymore," then I don't either.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, that immediately changes my mood of what's going on. I think that's perfect grounds to leave.
Do you feel like, just questioning, do you feel like you can sense things? Like, do you feel... I know why it kind of does.
I don't think I can. I don't think I do. So whenever somebody else is like, "Man, I'm getting a bad feeling about this," I am willing to go with that. That's all. Okay. Yeah, I do too, man. That's whatever you say, I'm going with.
Yeah. I didn't know if you were...
I'll get that gut feeling sometimes. Like he mentioned, we were on the river that night, and we'd been out fishing. It was dark out. We were on the water in a little short boat, V-bottom, like a 16-foot boat. And it was we'd been fishing for a little while, and there were some other guys out on the water that were acting kind of strange, like just how they were moving around and spotlighting some of the banks and some of the open water and stuff. And for whatever reason, yeah, it's just one of those times where I got kind of like that feeling where it's like, hey, you shouldn't be here kind of feeling.
Yeah, like we need to get out of
And
here.
I was like, hey, like I've got that, like we really shouldn't be on the water right now kind of feeling. I was like, if you don't mind, I think we're gonna call it, head
Yeah.
back to the ramp and go home.
I like that other people can. I think I get that sometimes, but I also have anxiety, and it could be just anxiety too. But maybe anxiety is there for a reason, like to
Oh,
be
yeah.
like,
That's a
okay,
good
like,
reason.
It definitely, anxiety definitely, it's definitely
it can be
from
good and bad.
yeah,
but
from our ancestors, having
Like-
to deal with getting close to the watering hole and a crocodile jumping out at them and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that-
it's
like
like
something's
it
not
could be a
right. I
warning
need
yeah,
to.
system.
it was
Yeah, good and bad.
And it I don't like the fact that I never get that. That really does not comfort me. That it's not very often. I'm like, man, I shouldn't be here. It's
He's just like, I'm
normally
just
an
here for the
afterthought.
vibes.
It's normally an afterthought of like maybe that was a bad idea.
You just have to always be with someone that has that
Yes.
sense, like,
Yeah.
okay, something doesn't feel right.
Yes, but to be fair, I don't think you'd ever catch me anymore out in the middle of the water at night alone. That's never
That's
happening.
true.
Like mimics and stuff like that are just not good entities around.
Yeah.
I think I just prefer to take the be better safe than sorry route.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. If you guys, I know you already kind of made your point, but if you had to choose, like if a mimic was only this one entity, what do you think it would be? I actually agree with Mason on this one. I think just because of my beliefs that I have already,
Yeah.
like demonic entities, like demonic presence,
Yeah.
is what I just think of whenever I think of a mimic. I just think of
I
it
really did
very
like-
evil, malicious. Like
What
I
is
think it's
the
cool to
flesh
think
gate?
of it as other things. I think a flesh gate would be sick.
I like
was
I
like
like
that.
the concept. I don't. I'm gonna say it's unlikely that that's the case for most, if not all, mimics.
I like
think it's more likely it's
Skinwalker
Stevenson.
and I like Wendigo.
Yes, I do love.
I do like those, but I just kind of wanted to do something a little bit different because they are covered so much and it is more native belief. So I kind of wanted to find things that were more universal.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, man. I think it's probably demons. It's probably
yeah,
just
I'd lean towards the spirit side. Yeah, something like that. I don't lean as much towards the Wendigo or the Skinwalker or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
more
at the end of the
spiritual.
day, I think genuinely, like 9 out of 10 people's occurrences with mimics or whatever is probably just somebody being weird or like
a
a
odd-
gas leak or
Yeah, I mean, you'll hear sounds sometimes where you're like, "Did someone call my name?"
Yeah.
or something like that, and it's just your brain looking for that pattern. It's
Yeah, trying to
you
find
know.
something.
like, I mean, that's probably the most common word it hears, to be honest, is your
Yeah.
name. So to hear, just something that sounds similar.
you know,
Just
be
your
an
brain
unknown.
automatically makes it think that's
Yeah.
what you're hearing.
Or even so, I think most of it probably is just explainable by natural human weird stuff in the brain going on. But I think there's
Yeah,
probably a
it's
little
just
bit.
cool to think if it's
cool to
not.
think that
maybe it
What
is,
if it isn't? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy this, you can like and subscribe, share our content with other people.
Smash that like button.
Oh
Thank
my
you for
gosh,
watching.
It scared me so much.
Well,
Thank you.
join us next week for another episode of Fear and Flame Podcast. We've been your hosts, Mason White and Brooklyn. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Thank you
Goodbye.
guys.